The Epstein scandal, the backlash over ICE, it's coming to a head. Protests today at the House hearing for Homeland Secretary Kristi Noem. One protester dressed as a cardinal holding up a sign saying, "Stop ICE raids."
With me, I'd like to introduce them to you.
And deportations.
Disruptions of congressional business is a...
Get ICE off our streets. Stop terrorizing our community. Yo, get ICE off our streets. Stop terrorizing our community.
Today, the AP reporting on polls showing Trump's longtime issues, things that whether you agree with him or not, there were periods where we can accurately report that independents, moderates, even some conservative Democrats thought that he was strong on, say, the immigration agenda or the economy when people were angry at the then incumbent Biden-Harris administration. So think about those two issues. They have become weaknesses for Trump. The two signature issues that, as one outlet put it, got him, quote, elected a year ago, that's what the AP says, could be turning into liabilities as his party is gearing up for these midterms. Since taking office, we'll just show you the facts. Do with them what you will. Trump down 11 points on immigration. Remember, his so-called get tough on immigration plans were something that he said helped him last year and that people wanted. Well, they don't like it now when it's actually happening, at least the way they're doing it. And the economy, again, where he did run effectively on inflation concerns, well, now he owns them. And he's down 9 points to a sad 31%. If you're thinking that sounds low, it is. It's a low for this term.
The abstinence scandal, the backlash over ICE, it's all coming to a head. We saw it today at the House hearing for Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem. One protester dressed as a cardinal holding up a sign saying, "Stop ICE raids." There were disruptions throughout the congressional proceedings. People yelling, "Get ICE off our streets, stop terrorizing our communities." This is the rage that's building across America right now as Trump's immigration enforcement spirals into chaos and cruelty. And today, the Associated Press is reporting on polls that show something absolutely devastating for Trump. His longtime signature issues, the things that whether you agreed with him or not, there were periods where independents, moderates, even some conservative Democrats thought he was strong on, have completely collapsed. I'm talking about immigration and the economy. Think about those two issues. They've become massive weaknesses for Trump. The two signature issues that got him elected a year ago, as one outlet put it, are now turning into political liabilities as his party gears up for the midterms. By the way, I am trying to do my best to gather all the information I can for you and share it with you. Please leave your likes and comments, and I would be grateful if you subscribed. Let's continue. Let me just show you the facts. Do with them what you will. Since taking office, Trump is down 11 points on immigration. 11 points. Remember, his so-called get tough on immigration plans were something he claimed helped him win last year, something people supposedly wanted. Well, they don't like it now when it's actually happening, at least not the way they're doing it, with ICE raids terrorizing communities and tearing families apart, and the economy where he ran so effectively on inflation concerns, he now owns those concerns, and he's down 9 points to a pathetic 31% approval. If you're thinking that sounds low, you're right. It is. It's a low for this term. 31% of Americans approve of Trump's handling of the economy. That's abysmal. That's historically bad. Politico is reporting that Trump allies now worry he's basically an imperfect messenger on the economic issue because he won't admit temperamentally that Americans face high prices. You might call this a Freudian problem for Trump. His ego is getting in the way of his actual goals. And it's not that hard to accomplish those goals. All he'd have to do is tell people, "I get it. You want prices lower. I'm not perfect. I'll work on it." That's it. That's the message that would help him politically. But that's not what the White House is saying. Politico reports, and I'm quoting here, "Unfortunately, I just don't think Trump is temperamentally capable of reversing himself and saying, yes, affordability is a concern. He's stubborn." They quote an ally saying, "The problem is the overall cost of living has continued to climb under Trump. Grocery costs are up about 3 points. Electricity is up 5%, and most people don't want to ration their electricity. People are upset. Trump promised to address this problem. He is not doing that. Trump literally cannot admit there's a problem because admitting problems would hurt his ego. So instead, he gaslights the American people, tells them everything's great, gives the economy an A+++ rating while families struggle to pay for groceries and keep the lights on. His narcissism is destroying his presidency, and he can't even see it. And then there's healthcare, which for so many Americans is not only a constant concern about whether you're getting the right care, whether your kids will be okay, but also this nagging worry in the back of your mind about what happens if there's a healthcare emergency. What would you do? How would you pay for it? That's the reality for millions, because we don't have a system that looks out for everybody and makes healthcare affordable. Now, healthcare is complicated. I probably told you that before, and if you're watching the news, you know that. But let's talk about the government, which has been under Trump cutting taxes for the super rich and cutting crypto deals for their buddies. Does the government under Trump want to help reduce healthcare costs for regular Americans? The news today is a resounding no. Trump's party controls the Senate. They could extend the previously agreed upon subsidies for people under current federal health care programs, what you might know as Obamacare. But they're not doing it. And that will cause, according to estimates, premiums to double for over 20 million people. Think about that. Healthcare costs doubling for 20 million Americans. Higher healthcare costs aren't a partisan thing. They're universally unpopular. Nobody wants to pay more for health insurance. Nobody. Then there's the Epstein files deadline coming up on December 19th, just 8 days away. And some prominent voices on the right are warning this has become a bigger problem. It's not just Epstein. It's not just immigration. It's not even just the debates over whether America is committing war crimes with these boat strikes. It's snowballing together for Republicans into this perfect storm of political disaster. Listen to what some conservatives are saying publicly. Hard stops in American politics typically create massive political blowback, and 2026 looks like it's going to be pretty ugly for Republicans. The political blowback is going to lead to Democrats in power in 2028. You can't gaslight people and tell them their bills are affordable, and you can't tell them the economy is A++. You just can't do that. And I think it's insulting to people's intelligence. Will it be enough to save Republicans in the midterms? Probably not. But that's okay. This is a long-term deal. You're going to lose the House. You may keep the Senate. The voices you're hearing are people who are actively, publicly aligned with Trump and the Republican Party. These aren't Democrats making wishful predictions. These are Trump allies and Republicans who would like things to be going better. They would like Trump to be ahead. They would like Republicans to be on track to win or at least hold seats in the midterms. And if it were really close in politics, these are the types of people who historically don't jump to the worst conclusion for their side. Things have to get really bad before they say something out loud in public that they know Trump and the White House won't like. This isn't day one of the Epstein controversy or day one of the Venezuela boat strikes or even day 10 of bad polling. This has been building for months. Things have gotten so bad that they're publicly warning about disaster, trying to help these guys course correct before it's too late. And we have the quote from Politico about warnings from people around Trump that he will not right the ship if he's not emotionally capable of admitting there are problems. Then you have the evidence. It's not hypothetical. Democrats swept all the races where people voted last month. This week, they flipped a mayor's race in a city that hadn't gone Democratic in 28 years, Miami. Let me repeat that. Miami, a diverse and interesting city, had not chosen a Democratic mayor in 28 years. Now they have. Whether that's because they're fed up with Republicans or because they like Democrats, people can debate. But it's undeniably bad news if you're a Republican looking at trends. Miami flipping after 3 decades is a massive warning sign. Let me show you something that gets even less attention. State-level elections. This new report shows that Democrats, when you look at small races that often don't make national news, have actually already flipped 25 Republican seats this year. 25. And here's the kicker. Republicans have flipped 0. None. Not a single Democratic seat has gone red. At the local level, where politics really happens, where people vote based on what's actually affecting their lives, there has not been a single instance this year where voters said, hey, we want to go more red. It just hasn't happened. That's a stunning statistic that should terrify every Republican strategist in the country. This red alert has gotten loud enough that even Republican allies, Fox News voices, people who desperately want Trump to win, are saying they need to address these problems now before it's too late. And I have Jen Psaki here to discuss all of this. She's host of Inside with Jen Psaki on MSNBC, and she's a White House veteran, having served in both the Biden and Obama administrations. Jen, you have top-level White House experience, which most people never get. But you also started in local campaigns. What do you think these local election numbers show? Because whatever's going on in communities, wherever people are getting their information, Democrats flipping all these local seats plus the broader environment seems like a pretty massive indicator of where things are headed. Jen responds that there's no question about it. Yes, there are 11 months until the midterm elections, but look at the races this week. The Miami mayoral race, where there hasn't been a Democratic mayor in 28 years. But what's really interesting when you dig into the numbers is that Vice President Harris won Miami by just 1 point a year ago, and this Democratic mayor won by 19 points. That's an 18-point improvement in just over a year. A big part of that seems to be Latino voters flipping back to Democrats. That's a trend we're seeing across the country. Latinos are a huge voting bloc that had moved away from Democrats to some degree in recent years, and the hope for Democrats is they're moving back. This is significant because Republicans had made inroads with Latino voters, and now they're losing them again because of Trump's cruel immigration policies and economic failures. Jen also notes the Georgia state legislative race that was won, flipping by more than 10 points. That indicates there's excitement in local races, and it's not about topics like Epstein files or even potential war crimes in the Caribbean strikes. It's about issues impacting people's daily lives, affordability, cost of living, whether the party in power is delivering for families. It's an indication that people are dissatisfied, which is a lesson for Republicans to do better and a good message for Democrats moving forward. The economy is the great reality test. People can debate whether you get accurate information from Real Housewives, The Kardashians, or The Apprentice. That's up to individuals. But there was an indication that some people watched Trump on The Apprentice long enough to think he'd be good on the economy because he looked competent in the boardroom. And I don't patronize that belief. We talk about culture and different messaging strategies all the time. But the idea that Trump is good on the economy has been completely blown up this year, more so than in his first term. During his first term, COVID hurt the economy, but that was a different issue entirely. This time, there's no pandemic to blame. This is purely Trump's economic policies failing Americans. I want to show you some questioning at the White House because it illustrates the problem perfectly. A reporter asked the press secretary if it's really a good look for Trump to be telling parents they should only buy 2 or 3 dolls for their kids when he's one of the wealthiest people in the country. Grocery prices have been up for over a year. We've covered the economy, but there are mixed signals about what that means. Inflation is down from where it was. Trump says he's working to find a solution, wants to see lower healthcare costs, but the healthcare subsidies are expiring at the end of the year. What's the plan? What's he going to do in the next 2 or 3 weeks? The press secretary responds that you'll hear more from the president and the White House very soon. That's it. That's the answer. You'll hear more soon. No actual plan. No concrete steps, just vague promises about future announcements. Jen notes this is a clear indication of the problem. A 31% approval rating on the economy is abysmally low for any president. And there's the cultural side, which is definitely true with Trump in terms of what people believed. It's much easier to run as the opposition, to run against the sitting party and say you'll do everything better. It's much harder to actually govern and deliver on promises. And the thing with Trump is, he's not a policy guy. He's not interested in details. He doesn't really engage in legislating and policy making. So when he doesn't deliver on things he promised, people ask questions. The healthcare question that came up, and Jen expects they'll get more questions as Caroline Leavitt continues doing briefings. The clear message from the public is affordability is the issue. Affordability isn't just economic data. In fact, it shouldn't be thought of as economic data at all. The cost of healthcare is a huge affordability issue, and right now Republicans don't have a clear plan. They don't have agreement on what the plan is. This would be a case where any normal president would engage and figure out what the plan should be moving forward. But Trump isn't a normal president. He's not capable of that kind of detailed policy work. So here we are. Trump down 11 points on immigration, his signature issue, down 9 points to 31% on the economy, the thing he supposedly excels at. Healthcare costs about to double for 20 million Americans. ICE raids terrorizing communities, protests erupting at congressional hearings, his own allies publicly warning of disaster in the midterms. And Trump's response? Gaslighting, telling people everything's great, giving himself A-plus grades, refusing to admit there are any problems because his ego can't handle it. He's temperamentally incapable of the basic political move of saying, I hear you, I understand your struggles, I'll work to fix them. That would require humility, which Trump doesn't possess. Meanwhile, Democrats are flipping seats everywhere. Miami after 28 years. Georgia state legislative seats with double-digit swings. 25 Republican seats flipped at the state level with 0 Democratic seats going the other way. Latino voters swinging back toward Democrats. Young voters mobilized against Trump's failures. The coalition that gave Democrats the House in previous cycles is reassembling and energized. The Epstein files deadline is looming in 8 days. That's going to be another scandal Trump can't escape. The boat strike war crimes continue generating outrage and legal scrutiny. Immigration enforcement has become deeply unpopular, even among people who wanted border security. The economy isn't delivering for working families despite all of Trump's boasting. It's all coming together into this perfect storm of political vulnerability for Republicans. And the most remarkable thing is that Trump could theoretically address some of this. He could change course on immigration to be less cruel. He could push Republicans to extend health care subsidies. He could admit prices are high and promise real action. He could release the Epstein files and move on. He could stop the illegal boat strikes. But he won't do any of that because it would require admitting mistakes, showing weakness, being humble, engaging with policy details, putting country over ego. And Trump is fundamentally incapable of all of those things. His personality disorder, his malignant narcissism, whatever you want to call it, prevents him from taking the steps that would help him politically. So instead, he doubles down, calls affordability a hoax, insists the economy is perfect, defends war crimes, hides evidence, attacks critics, and watches his approval ratings crater while his allies publicly warn of electoral disaster. The protesters at the Noem hearing yelling, "Get ICE off our streets," represent millions of Americans who are done with this administration, done with the cruelty, done with the lies, done with the gaslighting, done with being told everything's great while they struggle to afford groceries and health care, and they're showing up to vote in Miami, in Georgia, in local races across the country, 25 seats flipped, 0 going the other way. That's not statistical noise. That's a wave building. That's the American people delivering a verdict on Trump's presidency. And that verdict is clear. This isn't working. We want change. We're voting Democratic. 11 months until the midterms. If current trends continue, if Trump remains incapable of course correction, if Republicans keep defending the indefensible, we're looking at a potential Democratic landslide. The House will likely flip. The Senate is competitive. State legislatures will see more blue seats. And all of it is preventable from Trump's perspective. All of it could be avoided if he just admitted reality, adjusted course, showed some humanity and competence. But he won't, because he can't. Because that's not who he is. And so we watch this slow-motion disaster unfold, seat by seat, poll by poll, scandal by scandal, as Trump's presidency implodes under the weight of his own failures and his inability to acknowledge them. The red alert is sounding. Even Trump allies hear it. They're warning publicly because things are that bad. Whether Trump listens, whether Republicans can save themselves, remains to be seen. But right now, the trajectory is clear. Democrats are winning, Republicans are losing, and the American people are demanding change. That's the story. That's where we are. And that's what the next 11 months are going to be about.